I'm back. I'm going to be telling you today about Russian grappling versus American grappling. Now, this is a subject that everyone gets caught up on. Even every time I train at different gyms, this is always brought up. This is a debate that everyone has. Everyone has this debate, America versus Russia. And really, it's this side of the world, kind of, versus that side of the world in terms of grappling. No hate to anyone, of course. Now, for me personally, here is what I know to be true. When I train, like from firsthand experience, here's what I've picked up. I've trained with many college wrestlers. I've beaten many college wrestlers. I've trained with a lot of Russians. I've beaten Russians, so when you can say I've gone against each group that, you're referring to, these college wrestlers and then these Russian wrestlers that come over, the problem with Russian wrestling, the problem with American wrestling versus Russian wrestling is one group, when they get into the grappling aspect, they get into the UFC, one group gets better, one does not. And I think you know where I'm going with this. American wrestlers build such horrible habits in college wrestling. And I'm not talking about Olympic wrestling. I'm talking about college wrestling specifically. They build folk style, high school, whatever. They build such horrible habits, like not locking your hands on bottom. You're going to have real problems controlling people in the UFC, and that's what I've seen. And this is what I've also felt of these American wrestlers are so confident that they can take you down, but they can't hold you there. But these American wrestlers I've trained with, they give up their back because there's another really horrible, really bad habit that they have is they feel comfortable starting a referee's position. I was an American wrestler. I mean, I wrestled for my high school. So I know, I get why these rules are rules, but in MMA, in any other form of grappling, they get subbed or controlled because they don't know they haven't stopped these bad habits and they keep on just working off of them. Like it's like therapy, for example. Let's say you have really bad issues with your family, right? And you need to go to therapy and work on that. Well, these people aren't working on the problems that they have, and they're just like, okay, I'm going to throw in, I learned how to do an arm triangle. Cool. Well, if you can't hold someone on the ground, you can't do an arm triangle. So if you're going against the lower level people, maybe you're doing well. But these American wrestlers are starting, for example, I take down an American wrestler, right? And instead of trying to turn into me, maybe going to their back, getting an underhook and wrestling up to their feet, getting a 50-50. They think it's just smart to chill and be like, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to sit in referee position, which if you don't know, referee position is on your hands and knees. That's not good because every time I take someone down and they do that, I jump on their back. I get the body triangle like that and they don't move. Either they lose a decision or I choke them out because you don't get out of a good body triangle. So these American wrestlers are just constantly working upwards of they're always in bad positions. Like Michael Chandler. You go in my previous videos. I made a breakdown for Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. And I explained how Charles Oliveira was going to destroy Michael Chandler because his American wrestling and his horrible habits. And everyone's like, oh, Chandler's going to beat him. Not everyone, but a few people. And Bedtime MMA said Chandler was going to win. And I made a video on that, on how that was wrong. And guess what happened? Chandler gave up his back the entire fight. And I predicted it. I knew it would happen. Chandler was just getting dominated on the ground, which everyone was like, no way, he's a wrestler. People need to stop thinking in this black and white mindset. All grappling is positions. Are you going to be in a dominant position or not? And for these American wrestlers, they're constantly being dominated. They are the nail. They are not the hammer. When things aren't going their way and there's a really high-level grappler against them, Colby Covington. Colby Covington should have destroyed Joaquin Buckley. Why didn't he? Kamaru Usman did. Kamaru Usman took him down every time and just held him there. Kamaru Usman didn't even do anything. He was just holding him down. And all he had to do was just sit on the hips, hold him down. But these things with the American wrestlers is they go to a leg and they never connect up to the body. They they're just not good at controlling. They're just not. And we saw that with Colby Covington versus Buckley. You see Colby Covington getting just shucked off like it's nothing. And it's like, how? This guy is some D1 wrestler and you're getting destroyed? Okay, Tatiana Suarez, that's another one. I mean, we could go all day. Bo Nickel, another one, where you're taking people down and you can't control them at all. Like, at all. And then you see these Russian grapplers, like, okay, Khabib, obviously, but you see Islam. You see, okay, Hamzat doesn't count. He's not, I know he's from that region, and I know we're talking about the regions, but he doesn't count as much. But we see these guys who are coming over from that region, and they come to the United States, they train, right? Marab doesn't count as much. I mean, he doesn't count because his cardio is kind of what carries him. But we go to all these guys from that region. They come here, they train. I've trained with many of them. I actually saw last summer, I saw Miktabek Oralbai. I saw him training. Funny story about him. He was on the the bike. He was on the bike going for a long time, right? And I look over at him, and he's just stone-faced, no earbuds. Like, he's just entertained, just no earbuds. Just like, good for him. Good for him. But he's so dedicated. He's fighting this weekend. Wish him the best. But point being is, you see these guys from that region. They come over here, like Islam, that whole team, AKA, all those Russians, and they are really good at wrestling, right? But when they get you down, they're not just using wrestling moves to keep you down. They're using jiu-jitsu. And people don't like to say that. Even Islam, when he's fighting people, he's like, well, so combat sambo, brother, I do this. Well, you're not body triangling people in combat sambo, and you're doing it to Volkanovski, you're doing it to Poirier, like, he obviously came here. I trained at AKA. I trained in the same room he did, not at the same time, but there's lots of videos of him training in the jiu-jitsu room. Like that room that they train in, that little fishbowl room, that's a jiu-jitsu room. So Islam is very high level in jiu-jitsu. Obviously, he's darsing everyone. Khabib, Umar is just beautiful with his when he gets to a leg, he goes right up to the body, gets the body triangle. Point being is, we see the guys from over there. They come here and they learn. They get better. But something with these college wrestlers, I think it's their ego. I don't know. These American wrestlers have such a just lack of learning. And there are many that learn and get better on, right? You see these, I'll name off more. Bo Nickel, Tatiana Suarez, Cody Durden. Whenever they have that tattoo on their back, Michael Chandler, Colby Covington, whenever they have that tattoo, that college wrestling tattoo, you do not want to bet on them. Just don't. Like, it's so bad. And I've made every prediction that I've gotten right, that I'm very confident about, is always against American wrestling, because they can't control people, and they have these horrible habits of not locking their hands on bottom. They don't learn jiu-jitsu techniques like these Russians do. And I've trained with Russians too, but also a lot of guys from Kyrgyzstan. Those guys, they're using jiu-jitsu with their amazing wrestling, and that's what's making them better. That's what's making them so good. And guys, if us Americans, if we don't start, learning the jiu-jitsu, learning these other forms of grappling, we are falling behind. And it's obvious in the UFC. You see it, modern day UFC. You see it in all modern day MMA. You see who's better right now. That area of the world in grappling or us. It's very clear that they are. Very clear to me. And I'm an American. Like, I should be rooting for our guys, obviously. But, I'm seeing these guys in Dagestan, and, they're taking people down. They're getting a nice body triangle. They're winning rounds with that. And you see the Americans, they get a double leg or they get a single leg. They drag them down, but then they don't want to lock their hands on bottom. And the people just stand up. They just stand up and pull them. Oh, it frustrates me so bad. So bad. One thing about these Russians is they are able to learn all of these different, they're just learning more than us. They're just being better. Like, they're learning better. And I really do think it's college wrestlers' egos that's getting against them. That's against, I don't think Gable Stevenson would do well in the UFC either. And that's a hot take. I don't think a lot of these American wrestlers would do well. and they're not doing well in the UFC. We see it now. Like all of these, like guys like Cody Durden should be just, or Colby Covington, they should be taking people down, smothering them, submitting them. Why is it that all of these guys have like no submissions? They're not doing well. This is why, because people know how to defend their very basic attack in wrestling. And here's one more thing I would like to add. When I was a high school wrestler, I left high school wrestling my junior year. I was undefeated on JV, and I had just started jiu-jitsu that year, so I was pretty new, but I understood that mixing up the arts would make me a better grappler, well-rounded grappler. It would make me just better. And I was using my butterfly hooks to sweep people. If someone would get a single leg on me, I would kind of get an underhook, sweep them, get on top, take them down, pin them. And I did very well that season, and I was beating everyone in the wrestling room. I was beating all the varsity guys, and and for me, it was, I want to be on varsity because, and it was an ego thing, I'm up at that level. I'm beating everyone in the wrestling room, all the varsity guys, put me at that level. And my coach, he told me, he goes, you use too much of a jiu-jitsu game plan, and I don't like that. And I was like, well, coach, I'm mixing up. I'm thinking outside of the box. When all of these American wrestlers are only using double legs and single legs, people are learning how to defend that. And you see it in the UFC. They dominated earlier on in the UFC, but people have learned. People are evolving, and American wrestling is not evolving. I mean, it is, but not at the terms that other people are, and they're learning how to defend it. And that's kind of, I tried to explain that to my coach of like, I was doing a lot of like judo tricks in my wrestling, and I was pinning everyone, dude. I was doing really well. Point being is, I explained that to him. He told me, he's like, you need to keep it separate. You need to keep jiu-jitsu out of wrestling. And that's where I disagree. I think if you're going to be a well-rounded grappler, you need to combine the arts. Use your judo if you want to. I don't like judo as much, but with the wrestling, with the jiu-jitsu, with everything, combat sambo, when you add those together, you become this well-rounded monster that is Khabib Nurmagomedov, Islam Makhachev, Umar Nurmagomedov. And a lot of people are going to hate on Umar because he just lost. The guy broke his hand. What are you going to do? I mean, he barely lost that fight. Pump the brakes a little bit. I love my guy Umar. But, when it comes down to it, when you add all of these things together, you become a well-rounded grappler. This is how I won this. I'm not going to lie. When it comes down to Russian grappling versus American grappling, they are at such a high level right now that we are just not at, because we have this system in our country where every coach in all of high school, they're training the same thing. Nobody's thinking outside of the box. Everyone's taking each other down with single leg, double leg. That's it. Head and arm throws. It does not work at a high level. It just does not. So when everyone's scrambling around trying to do single leg, double leg, these Russians are learning everything. Everything. They're learning how to take someone. They're going single leg, body lock, takedown, hooks in, body triangle, just holding people down, winning rounds, really good with the underhooks, really good at, and at the same time, these people are just as athletic as we are here, but the technique difference is it's such an imbalance that you see it in the UFC. If you put Islam Makhachev against Michael Chandler just grappling, who wins that? Okay, let's say, honestly, I'd be so confident to say you put Islam against Bo Nickel and just grappling. I think Islam subs him. I really do. And you see these people where they start thinking, oh, we're Americans, so we have the best ideology. We're never going to change anything. And these coaches, these American coaches are, well, tradition's tradition. We need to keep teaching the same thing to every single, new person that joins wrestling. What are you doing, man? Nobody's going to get better than anyone else. Everyone's at this constant same spot. And the people that get better think outside of the box. Now, let's say, guys are just get really athletic, so they might beat the other non-athletic people. But when you have better technique, and those Russians are just as athletic as we are, if not more, I'm sorry to all of us Americans, but right now, Russian grappling, that region over there, the East, their grappling is far beyond ours when it comes to the UFC especially. So we need to pick it up as Americans.
Who wins more often, Russians or American wrestlers?
Russians.
If you guys disagree, if you have anything to say, leave it in the comments down below. I mean, I really want to hear what you guys think about this. Let me know if you agree, disagree. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of hate in the comments for this, but it's just what I've realized. You know, I've done a lot better against college wrestlers than I thought I would. And I've had a lot of trouble against just Kyrgyzstan wrestlers that come over here and are training. And I've had a lot of trouble going against some of those guys because they're just they understand that you need to get better at different aspects. You know, they're not just spamming single legs, double legs, and nothing else. You know, these guys are good and they're getting better and better. That region, they're getting better and better. Us Americans need to step it up. All right, that's going to be all for today. New video coming soon. Talk to me in the comments. I'll respond.